was only 26 when I bought my first property, and for the next 4 years, bought quite a lot. But I had a really good paying job. So I worked at Dell, I was doing 100 grand a year. Bear in mind, that's 20 odd years ago. So it's quite a lot of money then, which is a lot of money now. So that really helped fuel that property purchasing. And then over the next 4 years, built it up. And then I was built up enough money that I could leave work and didn't have to have a boss. So I did that. And then I went backpacking for like a month around Europe, which was amazing, by the way. Definitely should do it. Even in an older age, you should do it. Such wonderful experiences. But then when I came back, half of my property portfolio was empty. And I'm like, dude, what's going on? And they just didn't care, you know? So I thought, okay, maybe I need a lettings agency at this point, and I need to build it and I need to control it. And one of the things that I had going for me was all this IT experience, website design. Back in the old days, we'd use Dreamweaver, if you remember that. And so we created a one-page website. We bought the domain name for like 10 quid. We created a one-page website. And so we started managing my own properties, didn't have a clue whatsoever. And then we took on other people's properties, and we learned while we were on the job. And then we started doing short-term lets. And on page one of Google, it was all us. Short-term let leads, service accommodation leads. We owned the front page of Google through various websites. And so we built it that way. And we had this really unique situation that I understood about IT and computers and was very good at it. And then I also wanted to get more into property and manage the property that I had without causing lots of headaches. And so that's how that built up. We sold the lettings agency in 2011. Gosh, 15 years almost. It's amazing that. And then the portfolio just grew. But also during that time, I moved over to Spain. And so actually our property journey's taken a turn now, in that we've actually got rid of a lot of property because it's kind of like kryptonite for me right now. While I lived in England, it was great, 1,000 miles away, managing. We don't have a lettings agency anymore. So it was actually more like kryptonite and holding me back. So whilst we were selling some of the properties, we were building up this digital marketing agency. And we moved from bricks and mortar assets to digital assets. So if you remember Rich Dad Poor Dad, an asset is something that puts money in your pocket, and it's always stayed with me as that. And one of the benefits of property is that you get capital growth and you get rental income, best of both worlds, but you also get some negative stuff, which is tenants, councils, washing machines, boilers, dog poo on the walls when tenants leave, tenants not paying, tenants not leaving, etc., etc. And being 1,000 miles away, that just made it harder. So then as we moved more into digital, we've got a property sourcing product. It's £27. We've sold one copy of that every single day on average for the last 5 years. I don't have to do anything. That digital product has not phoned me up to say he's locked out of his house at midnight, because he got drunk and lost his keys. I've not had dog poo smeared on the walls. It's not had a faulty refrigerator that they demand replaced on the same day. So these digital assets are really cool. So we started building up on those. And as we reduced the property and the digital assets increased, it's moved us away from having to be on call 24/7 with tenants. And I know people go, oh, but you just give a lettings agency it. And well, what happens with a lettings agency? If a tenant phones the lettings agency, they say, let me phone the landlord. They then phone me to tell me that my boiler's broken and charge me double the cost than if a tenant just phoned me. So what's the point in that, right? So that's why we kind of don't trust lettings agencies. And I know every lettings agency only goes, oh, well, we don't do that. Of course they do. They all do it. So a little bit tongue-in-cheek there, but you know what I mean, right? So now we have these digital assets. And I also heard, when there's a gold rush, sell shovels. And so because for the gold rush in the olden days was property, that's why we created the lettings agency, sell the shovels, right? Now the shovel is helping people create digital content themselves and helping create digital assets themselves. So we've moved off bricks and mortar more into the modern age, which is all the digital stuff. And I do wonder if actually that transformation was slower than it should have been. I think we should have moved there faster. Now, I'm not saying that property is the wrong thing. It's just not the right thing for me in my situation, living 1,000 miles away in Spain. I'm 53 now. I want less problems. I don't want to speak to people, especially don't want to speak to councils, solicitors, tenants and all the stuff, handymen, work, tradesmen ripping you off and all that sort of thing. So we moved that model over to digital assets. And so we're still on the same model. We're building assets and creating assets, but it's just not physical. It's just more digital. Sorry for the long